is good, y'all? It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're going to be going over the best defensive settings right now in NBA 2K23. Now, this year, I gotta say it's a little bit different than past years because the game is different, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, the game's a lot different, in which if you have smother on it, it just doesn't work as well as it has in past years, especially with everybody just strictly wanting to run to the rim. And then even your off-ball settings, they depend on who you're playing against. For example, if you're playing against a guy like Carmelo Anthony or Jason Tatum, your off-ball settings for those types of players are going to have to change compared to if you're playing a guy like, let's say, LeBron James, whose release is a little bit slower. So what is the purpose of me telling you this? Well, basically the purpose of it is I set my base defensive settings, but they're subject to change, okay? And it really depends on who I'm playing against. So I'm going to go through how you guys should just base your defensive settings. And obviously, if you're up against the Carmelo Anthony, Jason Tatum, or a center that cannot shoot, we're going to be covering, what to do in that specific situation. Now, make sure you guys do smash that subscribe button if you are new. We're on the road towards 110,000 subscribers. So, if you've been struggling on the defensive end of the court, especially against rim runners, here's kind of the solution I personally would give you. Now, on ball pressure, I think my most consistent has been moderate. Now, you can go tight against guys like a Carmelo Anthony, Jason Tatum, or even if you came up against like a Steph Curry type of card. But if you're up against, the Russell Westbrooks of the world, the Derrick Roses, the Ja Morants, the Cade Cunninghams, the John Walls. John Wall is one with his quick release you might want to put on tight if he's torching you from the three-point line. But even with that, I would start on moderate. If you're up against, even more so of a rim runner type card, you might want to go on gap. It really depends on who you're playing. If you're up against a guy that can't shoot, maybe put it on gap as well. But I think moderate is your best option. Now, for off-ball pressure, I like moderate as well. Now, the off-ball pressure is the big one. If you're up against Carmelo Anthony, Scottie Pippen, Jason Tatum, Ron Artest, Ray Allen, shooting guards with a good release, you're going to want to put that on tight. Now, one thing I like is if you click RB, you can't do it in these settings, but like if you were to pause during the game, you can change it position by position. So, let's say you're up against a point guard, Russell Westbrook. I keep it on moderate, but then you switch to the shooting guard, you see Ray Allen. Small forward, Scottie Pippen. You want to switch it to tight. And then, obviously, if they have a power forward like Carmelo Anthony, switch it to tight. And then if they have a center like Wilt Chamberlain, you're going to want to switch this to gap and this to gap, okay? You're going to want to gap everybody that cannot shoot. That's a small thing, but it can make a pretty big difference down the stretch. Now, on ball screens for everybody, I personally click go under. Now, this is my opinion. This is what I personally do. Why? Because not everybody, but most people right now aren't 300 around screens, right? And if they are, they're doing it into a fade in which you can on-ball it and get over the screen, whatever it might be. But everybody's got a slow enough release, especially, off the dribble if they're tired a little bit, in which you can go under it. Now, again, this is my personal opinion of what I've been doing. I think go under has been more helpful for me than not helpful. I mean, you can try go over if you want, but the problem with that is if you go over the screen, you're just giving them a lane to run to the rim. So it's not really, that easy. If you go under, basically cuts off that rim running ability, especially if you do have that moderate on. Now, for our hedge portion of this, there's two ways you can go. If they can't shoot the ball at all, you can go no hedge. Now, you can see the positives. It says great if the screen is not a scoring threat. So, like if you're up against Wilt Chamberlain, for example, it's fine. You can go no hedge. But the problem is you got to be able to user this and get to the pop if their big can shoot. Okay. Another problem with this is if your guy does get killed by a screen and then you got a guy like, let's say, Jason Tatum coming around the screen, you got no help with no hedge on. So what I personally do is I run catch hedge, which it's kind of the in-between stage. Obviously, they're going to step up a little bit, but not all the way up. It's easy to X-switch with catch hedge as well. So it's kind of what I run the most. I will say it does give up the roll a little bit more than I want, just because of, of the way the game is. But catch hedge probably, as of now, is my favorite defensive setting as far as the hedge portion. Now, stay attached I put yes. Why? If you put no, first of all, your guys are just going to switch, okay? It's been like this. It's been broken, and I don't think it's fixed, okay? And so I put stay attached on, and that way, if you want to switch, you're going to have to X switch. And I personally like that. Eventually, maybe down the road, once we get more 6.6 Penny Hardaway, stuff like that, you will be able to switch screens and stuff like that. But for right now, I don't consider that the meta right now, just because rim running is primarily the meta. Everybody just wants to run to the rim and mash. And so I think having stay attached on is really, really, really helpful. Now, the other things I would suggest is putting no help on right here. Now, if you want just it on auto, just know your guys are going to help in, and you're just going to have to constantly be rotating. Now, you can do that. Certain people have done that against me. It is just really, really, really hard to control. Now, the next setting, and it's a setting that is a new setting, and I think it's only on next gen this year, is cutter help rules, man. That's gotta be on no help. I can't stress that enough. Cutter help has to be on no help. If it's not, it's just your guys are going to be constantly crashing in from the corners. You're going to be giving up threes. Nothing makes me more happy than when I send a back cut and the guy's corner drops to it and I get an easy three out of it. Make sure your cutter help is on no help. Otherwise, you might struggle a little bit. Now, for me, I got transition defense on no threes because I don't like giving it up. You can have it on wall up. It really depends on what your priority is. I hate giving up threes, so that's what I do have. As far as dribble handoff, I might put this on go under from now on. I haven't had it as a setting, but I'm probably thinking going under is the best. Down screen, probably going under is the best. I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to, again, mess around with. But as far as a down screen, I mean, I might keep it on auto. I don't really know, just because it's like, how many times is a down screen really gonna happen? I don't feel like it's gonna happen too much. Flare screen, again, probably not gonna happen too much. Back screen, probably not gonna happen too much. But I would just, until proven otherwise, put go under for each and every one of these. So that's basically our defensive settings. Now, what do the other defensive settings look like as far as, your coach settings, right? We'll go over those. So here's what it looks like when you guys get into an actual game, okay? Moderate, obviously is what you're wanting. And for Caruso, nothing really needs to change. You can go under on him. MJ, same thing. Kawhi is fine. Bron's fine. If you had JT or Scotty in here, I'd probably put off-ball pressure on tight. Now, the big thing is he's got Rudy Gobert. So with him, you probably want to go gap and gap because he's not going to shoot the ball ever. The rest of your settings are probably fine. The next thing you guys are going to want to do is go into your coach settings and make sure your adaptive coaching engine is off. Okay, why? Because otherwise your defensive settings are just going to get messed up. Another thing I personally have is I turn my late game fouling to manual always, just so they don't at the end of the game accidentally foul and ruin things for you guys. So you could have team communication on at least at the start to get kind of used to what this is like, what it's going for, just kind of how your guys are going to move defensively. But that's what I personally do. Guys, your defensive settings depends a lot on your opponent, so you might have to change them from game to game. But those are just the ones that I'm personally running right now and having some success with. I'm tired of getting mashed. Again, if somebody is torching you from the outside, you might have to go tight and tight, something like that. But again, it really does depend on your opponent. That is going to wrap it up for our video today, guys. Hopefully, each and every you guys did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you are new. And as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.